What's poppin', everybody? It's Kevin, and welcome to the Hands of Kodra. For years, I've made an attempt on making this, whatever this is, a real thing, and it never really worked out, and a lot of you guys don't actually know that outside of this little box that you call YouTube or Instagram or whatever you want to call it, I'm a real makeup artist. And over the years, I've been showcasing my talent on my face. If you're coming here from my Instagram, you would know that I took most of 2020 off, as I'm sure a lot of us did for right reasons. I took that time to find myself and really see where I want to end up with makeup and where things are gonna go, and they ended up in here. But moving on to the point of this video, the actual makeup tutorial. Today in the makeup chair, I have the stunning Julia serving you the 90s Supermodel fantasy. When we came up with the idea to do all of this, our top idea was 90s Supermodel glam, and obviously I had to open this up. The first video has to be 90s Supermodel glam. If you know anything about 90s Supermodel glam, it's very sculpted, it's very blended, it's very melted together, and everything looks very unified. But anyways, enough of me babbling, let's move on to the makeup. This is how we serve a 90s Supermodel fantasy. Alrighty, the first video. I'm really excited, but let's just jump right into it. First, I'm gonna prep Julia's skin with the Tatcha water cream and a little bit of the MAC Fix Plus. I'm going to be applying the moisturizer with a beauty blender purely because it just feels nicer for the client's experience, and some people, such as me, don't like actually getting their hands dirty. If you know what I mean, I just don't like getting dirty hands, so I use a sponge. I'm also going to use the MAC Cosmetics Strobe Cream in the shade Pink Light to add some glow to her skin and also some extra hydration. For primer, I'm going to be using the Tatcha Liquid Silk Canvas. This one's great because it's packed with a lot of skincare benefits, but you're also going to get the longevity from it, and also it's going to smooth and even out your makeup, so it's a great one to try out. For some extra hydration underneath the eye, I'm also going to be using the Ole Henriksen Banana Bright Eye Cream. I love using eye cream underneath concealer because it really makes sure it doesn't crack and it doesn't look as cakey and really prevents creasing. For foundation, I'm going to be using one of my holy grails, probably within my top 3 best foundations, the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Finish Foundation. You will be seeing this on my channel a lot. Not because Charlotte is paying me or asking me to use it, but simply because it's an amazing product, and you can see with how little I've already used on Julia's face, how much it's blending into her skin. But let's be real, Julia's skin here is perfect. It's immaculate, it's stunning, so there isn't really a lot of work for the foundation to actually do, so it's not the best example of what its capabilities are, but you'll definitely see this a lot throughout my channel. So this is the way I like to apply it. I like to first start off with a very dense foundation brush and work in very small, thin layers from the outside of the face, working my way inwards. The reason I work like this is because we tend to have a lot more issues or blemishes and breakouts more on the perimeter of our face, and towards the center it's usually more redness and texture, and you definitely don't want to pack on a lot of foundation where you're more textured. So I tend to let the concealer do a lot of the job in the center of the face and leave the foundation to do more of the job on the outer perimeters of the face. Once I had finished blending a layer of the foundation with the brush, I'm then going to go in with a damp beauty blender that has some product already in it. The reason I like to put product in my beauty blender as opposed to having a freshly cleaned, washed beauty blender is because you're already filling the gaps within the sponge, so it's not going to pick up any product and disperse it somewhere else. You're just going to get a very even blend and make things a lot more smoother. To cream bronze, I'm going to be using the Huda Beauty Tantour in the shade Light. I don't have much experience using this product, but for what it is, I was very, very impressed. It works in very thin layers, it doesn't give you a very cakey, thick appearance on the skin, and it just blends right in, so it's a really great product to give you that warmth that you're looking for when it comes to cream bronzing. So the way I like to apply it, I first apply it with a very dense brush first, making the shape and just making sure it's there. I don't care about how it looks, I don't care about how clean it is, I'm just getting the shape there. And typically I like to start at the top of the ear and I bring it down on an angle towards the corner of the lip, but I only bring the product towards the outer corner of the eye. That might sound a little confusing, but what I really mean is just keep the product more towards the outer part of the face and don't bring it too far in. Once you start to bring your cream contour or your cream bronzer too far into the face, you start to lose dimension and look muddy and sometimes even gray or ashy. So keep things a little farther out towards your hairline and then blend things forward. That's how you're going to get that perfect sun-kissed look. Here I'm going into the hairline and the forehead, making sure everything is blended and there's enough warmth on the forehead. The forehead is the highest point of your face, so it's typically going to have the most shadows and the most warmth when it comes to bronzing the face. So I like to have a little bit more warmth and depth on the forehead because it just exemplifies how you would get a real tan. Throughout these videos, you're going to see me keep a lot of the blending footage in the video because I want you guys to see in real time what it takes to really blend everything together. It's never fast, it's never easy, and it takes some time, and I want you to see what the process really is like. With that same cream bronzer and a very, very flat, thin concealer brush, I'm going to literally just draw 2 straight lines down her nose. This isn't the best example for me to teach you how to nose contour, only because Julia's nose is basically perfect, and for people who have more problematic noses, it's not that easy. So I'll definitely get there one day so I can teach you guys how to actually contour your nose depending on your nose shape. Continuing the theme of cream products, I'm going to be using the Rare Beauty Soft Pinch Liquid Blush in the shade Terracotta. This is one of the matte formulas, so it sits really nice underneath powder as well. The way I'm going to be applying it, first I'm going to take some of the product on the back of my hand, take a very fluffy tapered brush, buff the product into the brush on the back of my hand, and then whatever is on the brush will be applied onto the face. Because this is more of a 90s supermodel glam, I'm going to be keeping things very high up, more on the outer portion of the face, higher up in the cheekbones, bringing it into the brow bone and even into the eyebrow itself. One of my favorite tricks is to bring the blush into the forehead and the brow bone and the eyes, because that's how everything is going to look so melted and unified, and it's very much what 90s supermodel makeup exemplifies. For concealer, I'll be using the Huda Beauty Overachiever Concealer. I don't have a lot of experience with this product either. I've only ever used it on myself, and I've always really liked it. It is more on the drier side, more matte, but that's exactly what we're going for in this video because we want that locked, soft, matte skin that really just makes everything look like velvet and very soft and very smooth and airbrushed. If you have textured skin, matte is always the way to go because you can really pinpoint where you want to add glow, but making sure your textured areas or areas where you have more breakouts are going to stay more flat and more matte. So first I'm going to be applying the concealer on the center of the nose, the forehead, the upper lip, the chin, and also cutting the contour and making everything very sharp and sculpted. Once I have all of that concealer applied, I'm then going to go ahead and blend everything out very carefully. You can see that I haven't applied any concealer underneath the eye yet. With this concealer, because it's more on the drier, matter side, I don't want the concealer to dry too fast underneath the eye as I'm blending everything out, so I'm basically working in sections across the face. You can see how much already this light that we're adding into the face is sculpting the dark that we just applied. It basically shapes and hugs everything and really makes it very vibrant, and you're going to see everything individually, but it's going to be melted together, which is the most satisfying way your makeup can look, is when you can see everything and all your hard work and all the steps that you put into your makeup, but it looks like one face. It's such a good feeling. Now for the under eye. I'm also going to work one eye at a time because again this concealer dries down fast, so I don't want to waste any time. I'm going to be applying the concealer right underneath the eye and really bringing it up to the lash line so I can blend everything out later on. I'm going to bring it right down the side of the nose to pinch it in, and then right on the edge of the outer corner following the angle that the bottom lash line already goes up at. This is just going to elongate everything and also act as a guide for eyeshadow later on. The way I like to blend my concealer, first I blend out that outer edge that you're seeing and making sure everything is blended from the blush to the contour and the bronzer to the highlight. Making sure there's no lines and no edges and no patchiness. And then once I have that outer line blended out and you can see everything is gradiated really nicely, I move on to the nose and then right underneath the under eye. And you can see how snatched her face is already looking and the difference between one side to the other and how much more lifted it looks. To set the under eye, I'm going to be using the Laura Mercier translucent powder on a powder puff. I believe this puff is from KKW. It's one of my favorite. It's a really nice material. It's like velvet almost. I don't know. Really good puff. Now it may look like I'm applying a lot of powder, but I promise you I'm not. I'm not baking. I'm simply just setting the under eye with whatever I have mushed into the puff. I take some powder in the palm of my hand and then I really mush the puff into the powder and get the powder into the puff. This is exactly how you're going to get that soft, matte, velvety skin that looks so good in person and on camera. For bronzer, I'm going to be using the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Finish Bronzer in the shade number 3, and I'm using it on a NARS powder brush. So because we have all that cream bronzer underneath, we don't have a lot of work to do. We've already built and shaped the face, so all we're really doing right now is we're reinforcing whatever we have underneath. I don't want to disturb the foundation and the products underneath, so I'm not buffing or being really aggressive. I'm giving it more of that patting motion where it goes up and down and touches the skin and it doesn't get too aggressive, because the more friction between the brush and the foundation, the more chance you have of moving products around, it getting patchy or picking up on dry patches, which is never a good look. This is what's going to give you that very airbrush seamless feel. Running some bronzer through the brow into the eye, this is going to act as a guide and really help everything for the shadow later on, and also add some unison between the eyes and the face. For the jaw, I don't like too much going on, so I add just a little bit of color. I don't like too much sharpness. For the nose, I'm going to be using the Benefit Hoola bronzer. The reason I'm changing bronzers, I really like the Hoola bronzer, but only for the nose. And if you're anywhere between light to medium, the Hoola bronzer is a great tone and a great shade for nose contour because it's right in the middle of cool and warm. It's very neutral, so you're not going to get gray, ashy tones, but you're also not going to get like that orange nose, which is never cute. To clean everything up, I'm going to go in with that same translucent powder on a sponge and really shaping everything up. The same way that we use our concealer to shape up and sculpt our dark tones that we added into the face, this is doing the exact same thing. It's making sure everything is very structured and you can see everything and your face is very sculpted. Who doesn't want to be sculpted, girl? We've all gained some extra few pounds. It's fine. I'm on the same boat as you, girl. For blush, I'm going to be using the Lunar Beauty Moon Prism Blush Palette. And I'm using more of the orangey, darker tones to give her that really dark, deep 90s vibe. They used more of the terracotta and the burnt oranges and really adding that warmth into the face, keeping it more on the higher side of the face, towards the end of the hairline, back of the cheekbones, but cupping the cheek just a little bit to give her that really pretty youthfulness, but keeping that snatched, structured face. And here you can see me putting it to the brow, like I said. Favorite trick. To add some extra coverage and some extra longevity to the face, I'm going to be using the Fenty Beauty Pro Filter Powder Foundation. I really like to use powder foundations to finish everything off because, like I said, it adds longevity, it adds coverage, and depending on what product you're using, it really smooths things out and gets you camera ready. I like to apply this wherever I put translucent powder to buff out those edges and make everything very blended. But again, you're going to see the contrast of light to dark with no lines, and everything is going to be seamless and perfect and blended and just a smooth dream. With a really thin brush, I'm going to be using a little bit of powder and leaving a very thin line down the center of the nose and have things very structured out, and we're going to move on to the eyes. Now with a little bit of concealer and a buffing brush, I'm going to start to create and shape up Julia's lid. So because we have so much depth and bronzer on her lid, we've kind of lost the transition between light and dark. So here I'm using some concealer and some powder to really create that lid and shape everything up for the shadow that we're going to be doing right now. For shadow, I'm going to be using the Pat McGrath Labs Midnight Sun palette, and first grabbing that matte mid-tone brown and really just carelessly putting it through the crease. Because we have that bronzer and that cream contour within the eye, everything is just very easy. You don't have to stress. You can basically do this with your eyes closed. We already have a lot of the eyes shaped up, so we don't have much work to do. Now with that really dark ashy brown and a pencil brush, I'm going to start to create her crease. So first I'm going to have her look straight so I can see what is above her crease and what is below it, and draw that line right above it. Once I have that line drawn now, I'm going to take a very thin buffing brush and start to blend that line outwards. I'm going to try and blend that line upwards, but it doesn't matter if you blend downwards too. It's okay because we're going to clean that up later on anyways. Now this is going to be a layering process, so you're going to apply product, blend it out, apply product, blend it out, bouncing between brushes and those two shades between light and dark. I don't want this to be too dark. I want it to be more faint, a little bit more hazy, and not too saturated because that's what 90s makeup is. 90s makeup isn't really stark and aggressive. It's very pretty and soft to look at, but you look sexy and you look sculpted. And this is exactly what this is going to give you. Same thing on the other eye, starting out with that shape with a pencil brush and then buffing it out and then starting to layer things together. I'm keeping most of that depth on the outer corner of the eye, but very lightly bringing it into the brow bone to create that depth. Now with just a little bit more concealer and that same brush, I'm going to be using it to almost cut the crease, but not really. I don't want this to be sharp, but I want you to see that contrast between light and dark. So with very little concealer, I'm adding a very thin layer and with my finger blending everything into the eye. You can see that it's not a cut crease, but you're going to see that definition. The way I'm working my brush is I'm almost pulling my brush downwards to start to create that very soft blurred edge, and you're not going to see any harsh lines or any modern day cut creases up in here. Quickly setting that with some translucent powder or powder foundation, whatever you want. I'm going to use this just to quickly set everything and make it look very matte and very airbrushed. Also bringing it slightly into the crease so you have that very soft edge. For the lash line, I'm going to be using the NARS Mambo pencil liner, and I'm going to be smudging this into the lashes and the lash line, being very careless with it because it's going to be smudged out with a brush anyways. But I'm keeping it very concentrated on the lash line, and with a very small detailed brush, I'm going to start to buff out that edge. Now initially I was supposed to use more of a cool tone liner, but I really wanted to add some warmth into this look, and I have no regrets. I'm so happy with this shade. With that same liner, I'm going to start to create a little bit of a wing. Now, I love to use pencils for wings or liners because it is so easy to control. It can get out of hand, don't get it twisted, but it's very hard to make it get out of hand. It's a lot more easy to control this product and stay more humble with it, because you know sometimes when you're working with liner, things can get out of hand very fast. It's very hard to let things get out of hand with pencil liner. So here you can see in very small steps, very short strokes, I'm creating a very small liner. I don't want this to be too dark or too harsh. I just want a little bit of a lift in the eye that's going to enhance the lashes later on. With that same mid-tone brown we first initially started with, I'm going to go over the liner just a little bit to blend everything out and unify it into the eye. Now to add some depth into the lash line, I'm going to use that same dark brown shadow in the Pat McGrath palette with a flat brush and create some depth right at the root of the lash and the root of the liner. This is going to enhance everything and also allow the mascara and lashes to blend into the eye a lot more seamlessly. Now moving on to the next eye, same exact thing. I'm using the pencil liner to rim her upper lash line, being very careless with it, keeping it tight on the lash line, but I'm not being clean about it. It doesn't have to be a straight line because I'm just going to blend it out. The easiest way to have a clean blend is to pull up your client's lid with your thumb and really get into the lash line, making sure you're getting into every wrinkle, every fine line, every lash. When it comes to the angle of the liner, that really depends on you. The easiest guide is to follow it at the same angle of the bottom lash line, but some people like their angles at different lines, so up to you. To clean up that edge just a little bit, I'm going to use whatever concealer I have left on my brush and just very lightly rim and line the edge of the liner. This is going to make everything look a lot sharper and cleaner and a lot more snatched. Now for the bottom lash line, literally everything we did on the top, the same exact colors, we're going to quickly run them through the bottom lash line, starting from lightest to darkest. I don't like my lash lines to be too blown out. I definitely like them to be more on the tighter side, so I bring it down just enough for you to see it and see that gradation from light to dark, but not too much because it can weigh down the face a little bit. With that same liner that I used to rim her upper lash line, I'm going to rim her waterline on her lower lash line. This is what's going to pull everything together. It's going to add that warmth to the eye and really tie everything together and really make those brown eyes pop. For brows, Julia has her brows laminated, so she made my life a lot easier. I didn't want to do too much, so all I did is I grabbed the brow pencil from Anastasia Beverly Hills in the shade Granite. This is like their actual pencil, like not their brow wiz, not their brow definer. It's literally like a sharpened pencil. I like this because you're able to get a really soft, powdery finished brow, which is what I love, and it's just very fast. So yeah, I'm working in very thin strokes, but I don't want you to really see the strokes. I'm not the biggest fan of a feathery brow. I want it to look more powdery, if that makes sense. Julia's actually a makeup artist herself, so she made my life just a little bit easier by bringing her own mascara, and she offered to do her own mascara, so thank you, Julia. For lashes, we'll be using Julia's lashes from her own brand, Emboss Beauty, in the style E06. These are going to be very wispy, very fluffy, but also very pulled out and more feline, so it's just going to emphasize that pulled out look that we just created. I'm going to quickly create a very soft inner corner with the same shadows we used on the eye with a very thin brush. This is very easy. You can do it with liner or liquid liner, but I think with powder or eyeshadow, it looks a lot more soft and natural, so try it out. Taking that really shimmery champagne shade, I know I was going to keep this all matte, but I wanted to add just a little bit of a sparkle. I'm going to pop that into the inner corner of her eyes. For lips, I'm going to give her my traditional nude 90s inspired lip, starting off with a Sweet Tea lip liner from Morphe. If you know anything about me, I love this liner. I buy it all the time. I'm stocked up for life, and it's always sold out, so please stop buying it, because it's mine. I'm going to very lightly overline her lips, not too much, because Julia's lips are beautiful to begin with. I did somehow manage to lose the clip of me actually applying the lipstick, so that's on me, but what I used was the Lunar Beauty Daydream Liquid Lipstick. It's a very pretty soft nude shade, leaning more on the brownie pink side, so it's very great for a 90s lip. But in case you need a reminder, this is how we turn the stunning Julia into a supermodel. That's how you serve a 90s supermodel fantasy. I wasn't kidding when I said I really went in on her face. You'll probably hear me say at the end of every single video, I'm so in love with this look, it's my favorite look. Everyone says that, but I kid you not, this look could probably top a lot of my favorite looks in the books. And to be honest guys, this is just the beginning of what we're planning, the fantasies that we're gonna be pulling out of this world. And what I mean by when I say fantasies is the whole point of this, what you're seeing right now, is to create that fantasy that we all had as a kid, to be a celebrity, be on the red carpet. This is just the beginning, and you're gonna see a lot of glam, production, quality. If you missed any of the products that I used throughout the video, everything is gonna be listed down below, so it's gonna be super easy for you to find. And if you wanna catch more of me, see more of my work, you can follow me over on Instagram and Twitter. Everything is gonna be KeviKodra. You can catch me on this channel showing you new tutorials every week. I'm excited, get ready, because what you're about to see, you've never seen before. Thank you guys so much for watching the video, the first video, and the first of many. Till next time, I'll see you guys then. Bye guys.